Admiral Wilhelm Canaris is kicking his heels in Potsdam. There are no more intelligence reports to read and no orders to give. Hitler has dissolved the Abwehr. Sure, the Admiral has a new position and some busy work to do, but Canaris knows he's a marked man. As the days go by, as the Allies advance in West and East, perhaps the old Admiral thinks of his colleagues, men like Hans Oster. Canaris did his best to protect them, to cover up their resistant activities, but he failed. He failed to bring the war to a close, and he failed in his own battle with Himmler and the SS. Where did it all go wrong? What might come next? Let's find out. This is the end of the Abwehr. I'm Astrid Deinhard. This is Spies and Ties. Hello, darlings. Perhaps it was inevitable that the Abwehr should meet a sorry end. In pure intelligence terms, the service had been floundering for quite a while. First, Canaris failed to predict Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa, in November 1942. Then he was blindsided by Operation Husky, the Allied landings on Sicily in July last year. On top of that, the Abwehr's amateurish foreign agents have sent back little information of use. In a hugely embarrassing episode back in 1942, the FBI arrested 8 German agents sent to America within 2 weeks. Even before these failings, the Nazis had a hostile attitude towards the Abwehr. Canaris and his men were the sort of old-fashioned conservatives that Hitler had always regarded as dangerous. His suspicions were correct because, as Indy, Sparty and I have covered, the Abwehr was intertwined with the small but determined German opposition. Canaris protected some of the leading figures, men like his deputy Hans Oster and the Abwehr officers Hans von Donani, Johnny Jepsen and Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Oster was the most involved, acting as a coordinator between various opposition groups in German society and the army. He supplied the explosives for Major General Henning von Treskov's failed bombing of Hitler's plane in March 1943. But shortly after that, things started to fall apart for the Abwehr resistance. In April 1943, the Gestapo arrested Hans Oster, Donani, and Bonhoeffer. We covered this in our miniseries on the Vatican last year. Have a look. These arrests weren't actually for opposition activities. Instead, it was because the 3 men were running a secret red line employing Jews as Abwehr agents and then sending them off to safety in neutral Switzerland. Canaris sanctioned the operation, but because he wasn't directly involved in the running of it and the other agents stayed tight-lipped, the Sicherheitsdienst, the SD, didn't discover this. But they did discover that Canaris had been running secret lines of communication with the Allies. One was via an Abwehr courier who traveled to and from the British ambassador in the Vatican, and the other via pro-British elements in the Hungarian Secret Service. But Canaris managed to wiggle out of that one too. He was interrogated by Ernst Kaltenbrunner, head of the Reichssicherheitshauptamt, the Reich Security Main Office. It was symbolic of the rift at the heart of this conflict. Old versus young, military versus party, conservative versus Nazi radical. But nothing much actually happened to Canaris after this. Perhaps he provided a convincing enough explanation. I mean, keeping some lines of communication open with the enemy is normal practice for intelligence chiefs in wartime, and the SD didn't know the whole truth of that matter. That Canaris had been exploring options for some sort of peace with the West, on the condition that Hitler was removed by the opposition. Or more interestingly, perhaps the SS might have chosen to look the other way. And why would they have done that? Well, by the summer of 43, Reichsführer SS Heinrich Himmler was starting to prepare for the worst. And although he was, and still is, loyal to the Führer, he can imagine a future Germany without Hitler. So, perhaps Himmler decided that Canaris' communication lines with the West could be helpful. He told the head of SD Foreign Intelligence, Walter Schellenberg, that they must leave the old man in peace. And they did, for the most part. But the SS used the arrest to justify its creeping unofficial takeover of the Abwehr. In some cases, SD agents literally stood behind Abwehr officers and supervised their work. But this takeover wasn't so much motivated by questions of the Abwehr's disloyalty or what Canaris might have been up to. It's a pure power play. Himmler and Schellenberg had long dreamed of absorbing the Abwehr into the SS empire. So, Canaris remains in his post as 43 turns to 44. But it's not long before another domino falls. Once again, it isn't anything Canaris does. Instead, it's another one of those links to the opposition. In January 44, the Gestapo arrests the members of the Solf Circle, a sort of intellectual opposition group to Nazism. They too have helped Jews and have discussed plans for life after Hitler. Some 70 people are arrested across Germany, but 2 of the people on Himmler's list are out of the country. They are Erich Vermehren, the Abwehr Deputy Chief in Istanbul, and his wife Elisabeth. This begins a thrilling little bit of espionage drama. On January 12th, Erich and Elisabeth hear about the arrest. The couple knew that nothing good is waiting for them when they are summoned back home to Berlin. Fortunately, Erich has already made contacts with MI6 in Istanbul. After some hurried negotiation, the couples are smuggled through Turkey, flown to Cairo in February, and then on to Britain. The British boast that Vermehren has revealed mountains of German secrets. It's a massive propaganda coup. The whole thing infuriates Hitler, and the SS head haunches see an opportunity to move in and kill off the Abwehr. Kaltenbrunner writes to Hitler on February the 7th, painting the Abwehr Istanbul station as a hotbed of treachery. Hitler's Waffen-SS liaison officer Hermann Fegelein suggests handing over the Abwehr's duties to Himmler. After hearing all this, Hitler summons Canaris to a meeting and accuses him of allowing the Abwehr to disintegrate. The Admiral probably doesn't help himself much here. Apparently, his response is something along the lines of, no wonder the Abwehr is disintegrating. Germany is losing the war. That is the last thing you want to say to the delusional in chief. Hitler rewards Canaris with a sack. Hitler asks his inner circle for their opinions, and Kaltenbrunner brings him a Führer directive ready for signing on February 13th. The crucial lines are as follows. First, a unified German secret intelligence service is to be created. Second, I appoint the Reichsführer SS to command the German intelligence service, signed Adolf Hitler. With this, the remains of the Abwehr are absorbed into the new unified foreign intelligence service and given to Schellenberg to command. But by this point, the Nazis are just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. The service that Schellenberg inherits is pretty much falling to pieces, and plenty of Abwehr officers refuse to work under him. The SD officers who take over have little understanding of military intelligence. Plus, even if they could get some good intelligence, Germany just doesn't have the military power to exploit it. On top of that, Schellenberg and his boss Kaltenbrunner hate each other, just one of the many interpersonal conflicts in the bloated SS empire. All of this meant that as the Allied armies land in France, German intelligence is missing in action. The Allies have known about this for some time, thanks to their Bletchley Park interceptions, and they exploit it ruthlessly. In our D-Day 24-hour special, we saw the success of the Allied deception operation codenamed Fortitude in sowing doubt in the German High Command. And Fortitude isn't over yet. German intelligence is still eating up the lies sent over by double agents like the Spaniard Juan Pujol or Garbo, which claims that Normandy is just a distraction for an even bigger landing soon to come in Calais. And what of Canaris? Yes, his service has been disbanded for being treacherous and incompetent, but he has been sacked for professional failings and for the actions of his underlings, not for any treasonous actions of his own. After his dismissal, he is first banished away to Launstein Castle in Lower Saxony. There he exists in an odd sort of limbo. Everyone is very polite to him, and he has his own dachshund for company, but he isn't allowed to leave the castle, and his contact with the outside world is restricted. Now, at the end of June, he is made chief of the Special Office for Economic Warfare in Potsdam. It's a shell of a job, and Canaris is a shell of a man. He's mentally and physically exhausted after years of playing a double game. Ironically, Canaris' best hope now may lie with his former rivals. Whatever their differences, both Himmler and Schellenberg have shown respect for the Admiral. More importantly, both of them have Hitler's ear. By now, both of them have their own contacts in the West. But the worse things get for Germany, the more they might want to draw on Canaris' lines of communications. He holds out hope that one of the other of them will get him out of his mind. But before there is any progress on the front, there will be an explosive development in the German opposition, courtesy of a young officer named Klaus von Stauffenberg. While we wait to see what happens, you can go back where it all began for Canaris and the Abwehr. Click here on my earlier video on the Abwehr, the Trojan Horse in Nazi Germany. And I will see you next time, darlings.